we get older is to remain heart-centered and keep our hearts open as we move through the stages of life. And sometimes this is really, really difficult because we go through a series of disappointments, in terms of our interactions with specifically human beings. When it comes to the animal world, they are unconditionally loving. So that's always a point of reference, which I really like to highlight, is your interactions with your pets, your horses, your dogs, your cats, any of those beautiful creatures in your world are always going to emit a really unconditionally loving energy. And it sort of seems to never fail. But when it comes to our human interactions, oftentimes we come up short and we feel disappointed. And what happens over time is that our heart chakra and our heart center, it becomes less open, and we start to build these walls up around our heart in terms of how we interact with the world around us and others, and we become much more guarded. And so what I want to talk about in this video is having an approach which is diligent and quite focused on keeping your heart center open. Now, most of us that are at this later stage, in the game in terms of our life, probably have gone through periods of time where we were extremely contracted in terms of our heart center, in terms of our heart chakra. And what I mean by this is that we were closed off to deep, meaningful exchanges and interactions with those in our lives, whether they be platonic or romantic partners. We just seem to have kind of this wall up. And what this does in terms of our actual energetic interactions is that we don't feel that breadth and depth and true connection to life. So we are really connected energetically through the heart chakra and also the crown chakra, but our crown chakra won't open fully until we move through the heart. So that first step energetically in terms of how we need to connect to our fellow human beings and our human family is through the heart. And the only way that we can truly authentically do this is by breaking down those walls that we have basically built up through our experiences with the external world. Now, a lot of this heart chakra blockage or this inability to open our hearts often comes from romantic relationships. So one of the most in-depth relationships that you will have as a human being is with those that you are romantically involved with. When these individuals that you are giving so much access and so much trust to in terms of your internal world, showing all of the pieces and parts of yourself, when they hurt you, when they betray your trust, when they somehow destroy that connection, that energy exchange, whether it's through dishonesty, not being forthcoming about where they're at in the relationship. There's a myriad of ways that this can happen. But when we go through the pain of having somebody disappoint us in this way, the natural way to combat all of the emotions and all of the overwhelming energetic output that comes from the heart when this happens is by closing off that energy center. But by closing off that energy center, we become extremely disconnected. We can't just close it off to that person. When we close off that energy center, that energy vortex, that chakra energy center, we shut it down to everyone. We can't just have pieces of our heart open and pieces of it closed. So what happens in terms of our external reality is that we start to feel a dullness in terms of the way that we interpret the world, the way that we exchange with the world. Because remember, everything is energy, And now you shut off a piece of that energy. So you're also shutting off a piece of your experience. And a very, very beautiful piece of your experience is this heart exchange energy. It's the depth of connection. So part of your journey is to identify that there are aspects of opening your heart to others that you need in terms of that authentic energy exchange, that authentic connection, but you also are part of the equation. So in this healing process, part of this healing journey is that you have to reopen that heart center. And that can be scary because that involves extreme vulnerability. It's kind of like returning to this childlike state where you're sharing all of these really intimate emotions, all of these feelings with another person. And that can be extremely scary because when we are vulnerable, it opens us up to hurt. It opens us up to pain. Maybe that other person may not feel the same way. Maybe that other person isn't at the depth of that energy exchange that you are personally willing to exchange. But in this growth, in this maturity, we have to understand that this vulnerability and this opening up of our hearts it's a journey, it's a lesson, and it's a beautiful lesson in the fact that we can be vulnerable, we can be open without expectation. This is the linchpin to unconditional love. So when we are allowing our heart to open in this unconditional, non-expectant way, in terms of no expectations for gain personally, what happens is that we can share our heart with others without the fear or without the worry that we won't gain what we want from the exchange, because we're just showing them, we are just mirroring to the outside world, to those others in our environment, that love is going to flow freely, flow authentically, and without expectation. So we just become this beautiful, brilliant, shining light of love without needing anything in return. And what that does in terms of our heart center and our heart chakra, it allows us to take down those walls that we've built up without any fear of having repercussions. Because when we're coming from this vantage point, there is no disadvantage. If you're sharing yourself, if you are just loving all things and all people because that is the energy that you are, and you're not expecting them to give it back to you in kind because, again, you're somehow trying to tether them into this confinement of a relationship, then you are free and they are free. And that energy of unconditional love is just in its expansive state. Now, another thing that I want to bring to the forefront is that this unconditional, heart-centered, heart chakra open energy is directly related to the flow state, to that authentic, divine, creative energy. So this is actually how you access it. So if you are wanting to bring forth all of your beautiful gifts, if you're wanting to immerse yourself into that very, very high frequency, divine, creative energy, then you have to maneuver through the heart center up into the higher energy centers of vibration in terms of your creative energies. So this is a lesson, and this is a practical application in terms of how you want to access that creative divine flow energy. It's through the heart, it's through unconditional love, and it's through vulnerable trust. Again, linking this back to faith, because when you are walking in faith, when you are creating in faith, you are in essence merging yourself or connecting yourself with that divine energy, with that unconditional loving energy. And what this does in terms of creating peace, creating this high vibrational, vibrant energy, and this fearless, or an energy that is created without fear, is it's opening you up to the authentic nature of yourself when you're interconnected with that source energy. So there's nothing to fear with vulnerability. There's no downsides to it. This is something that you have to reintegrate into this childlike energy. When you return to your innocence, when you return to that playful energy, when you return to an open-hearted state, things start to remagnetize. Life becomes more beautiful. You become more immersed in things. And this is because naturally you are reopening that beautiful energy of the heart center. What you will experience in terms of your energy and your actual experience is a deeper connection with everything in your life, with all people, with all experience, with your daily interactions. They'll feel more vibrant, they'll feel more alive. You will feel in love with everything. And so this is the magic that you want to really retether yourself into. And it doesn't just happen like that. You can't just decide, okay, now my heart is open. You have to practice this because it's likely taken months, if not years, to build up these walls around your heart. So you have to diligently deconstruct this heart chakra opening energy. Now, the other thing that I'm going to just highlight in this video is the fact that when you are in this vulnerable state, you may trigger others. You're not triggering them because you're doing something negative or bad. You're triggering them because they are extremely closed off within their own hearts, and they may run away from this brilliant heart-centered energy that you are directing towards them. It might feel overwhelming because, again, you are just sending out this beautiful high level, high frequency heart open energy. And so for those whose hearts are cold, for those who basically have shut off that energy center, this can be extremely overwhelming. So they're not doing it because they don't like you or they don't appreciate what you're bringing forth. It's that you're holding a mirror up to them and they're having to very accurately see that they have shut themselves off in this way. And your energetic output is calling their hearts to open up as well, but they may not be ready for this. They may not be in a state where they are ready to handle all of the energy and all of the work that they have to do to reopen their heart center and move up towards this spiritual connection with divine energy. So again, if you are really embarking upon this next chapter to reopening your heart and you're feeling that it turns some of the individuals in your life away, don't feel disheartened, okay? Just know that eventually, hopefully they will come around. But what you're going to do through the law of attraction is you're going to bring in a lot of really heart-centered interactions. So even though it may turn off some individuals in your immediate vicinity, it's going to call forth a lot of really beautiful, open, deep connections to form. And hopefully what it will do for all of those in your environment is it will call them up to start their own journey in opening their heart center. Okay, this is the end of this video. Wishing you all a very beautiful Tuesday, and hopefully you are on that path to opening your heart to a deeply enriching experience with those around you.